We'll call Polk County Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting to order. We could have Annalee Jones come up to administer the oath for the board, please.
I think this falling apart back here. Okay, so as we previously stated, I will read, but when we get to the undersigned, you will please state your name, and then at the end, we'll all repeat, so help us God. Good to go. Okay. We. No, you guys.
We say our name.
Say your name, please. We.
Paul Reed.
Sandell.
Constituting the County Board of Appeal and Equalization of said county for the year 2025, do solemnly swear that we will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that we will fairly and impartially discharge the duties incumbent upon us as members of said County Board of Appeals and Equalization.
So help me God.
There we go. Perfect. And then we'll just send this around for signature.
Much more clear the second time.
All right, while we're doing that, we can look for nominations for the board chairperson.
Nominate Joan.
Jolie. I'll second.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations?
I move they cease.
All right, perfect. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Joan, I'll pass it over to you as chair.
Okay, thank you, I think. Okay, so next is the introduction of the County Board of Appeal and Equalization. So, do you want to introduce yourself and what district?
My name is Paul Reese, District 1.
Warren Strandell, District 2.
Joan Lee, District 4.
Gary Wilhite, District 3.
Sam Melby, Director of Property Records.
Do you just need to introduce yourselves or not?
We'll do that.
Yeah, he'll do that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so now I will turn it over to Mark Lansford to carry on from here.
Thank you. I'll read a purpose, rules, and duties of the County Board of Appeal and Equalization. This Board of Appeal and Equalization is for the appeal of the valuation of property, not for appealing the real estate tax. Taxpayer petitions will be heard today for the 2025 assessment year. Taxes payable in 2026. Appointments were required in order for your appeal to be heard. If you did not make a prior appointment, the board may hear your appeal after the appointments are completed if time allows. In order to get through all the appeals, we will try to keep to the schedule of approximately 10 minutes maximum per appeal. The board will hear your appeal, ask you questions regarding your appeal, and also ask the assessor questions regarding the valuation. The board will make their decision based on the facts presented and the sales records of the assessor's office. The time period for sales used for the 2025 assessment by Minnesota statute is October of 2023 through September of 2024. The board will hear all appeals before making their decisions. I have reviewed the training certifications, and Warren, you are good through 2027. Sam, you are good through 2026, and Mark Holy is good through 2028. Seeing this, Sam and Warren are both trained members, we have fulfilled that requirement. And just a reminder, as I do often, as many people as we can get trained is always a good thing. So feel free. It starts again in July 1st, and you can go along with that.
Yeah, if you could remember to send it to the board,
Yep.
that was the only request that I received at the last meeting. So,
Okay, will do.
thank you.
So having said that, I will get the signatures for the certification forms here. Suppose you guys need the auditor as well. While you're doing that, we can do the introduction of the assessment staff. I am Mark Landsberg, County Assessor.
Andy DeZellier, Deputy Assessor.
Tiffany Wakefield, Assessor. Jennifer Brault, Assessor.
And Harrison was here a minute ago.
Checking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Harrison Jay is out signing in people, and we've got two staff members who are unavailable today. Melanie Schmitz is sick today, and Amanda Major is unavailable as well. And then our administrative staff is Janet Matson, and Amy Erdman is our clerk as well. All right, thank you very much. Okay, I've got a little presentation here. Try to keep it as quick as I can. Regarding the assessment.
Would it be possible for you to present them?
I can, sure.
Just because then the mic can catch you a little better.
Okay. Okay, the presentation here is basically about how the 2025 assessment was developed, and especially regarding the real estate conditions that existed in 2024. These are the topics we will discuss. And we'll start off with a national market perspective on residential home prices. According to Standard & Poor's U.S. Home Price Index, it looks like after the increases in national market right after that pandemic, housing prices have stabilized, and last year they were about 1.7%. To get historical perspective, here's a chart reviewing the home price index since 1987. The shaded vertical lines there show periods when the U.S. experienced recessions. Here's a condensed data from the previous chart. If you look at it, you'll notice that in 2000, the index was 100. And in 2025, it is 313.69. What that means is that nationally, a typical residence that sold for $100,000 in January of 2000 would probably sell for about $313,700 in January of 2025. Since 1987, the value of residences nationwide has increased 392%, or on average 10.1% per year. Now let's zero in on our own market to see where Polk County fits in. We'll be talking about sales ratios a lot here, which is simply the assessed value divided by the sale price. For example, if the assessed value of the property is $90,000 and it's sold for $100,000, the sales ratio for that sale is 90%. Assessors are required to have the median ratio of a jurisdiction be within 90 to 105%, or state orders can be applied later if there are 6 or more sales in a jurisdiction or in a countywide property type. Here's a hypothetical list of sales in a jurisdiction. And if we're looking for the midpoint on there, or the median, it would be the 95% one. So this would be an example of one where our values would be within the state's guidelines. This map is included in our documentation in these books right here, if anyone wants to go through them. It has all the 2024 sales median ratios that the state guidelines require we use to figure out our markets for the 2025 assessment. Here are a few here we go kind of zoom in to get the city sales here, and I'll highlight a few things. First off, right there, it's in this typical small city or small town. Our ratios are 94%, which is about where you want to be or close to it. Ideal is 100%. A couple of things to areas of concern we had to begin with. Fertile and Fisher were at 86% and 80% respectively. And on the other hand, ratios for McIntosh were 113 and Winger was 140. We were more concerned about McIntosh because there were 7 sales versus 4 for Winger. 7, remember, anything 6 or more sales, you have to get down to that 90 to 105%. And this is the Crookston and East Grand Forks information. They needed minimum residential mass changes, but commercial and industrial sales showed that our values were low and needed adjustments. This chart shows the counts and median ratios for the major lakes within the county. As you recall, a few years ago, large increases in value needed to be made to catch up with the market, but generally that has steadied. You can see here, Maple Lake, we were a little high to start off with, and on the Union and Lake Sarah, we were a little low. Notice also that there were 7 sales of 140 or 140% on land only sales on Maple Lake, and those were basically a certain type of backlots, and we kind of targeted that to eventually to fix the problem. The Department of Revenue doesn't look at the lakes themselves; they look at the townships. So this shows where we are on each township. You notice that Godfrey was at 116 and there were 6 sales, so we knew we needed to go down on Godfrey especially, but it showed we need to a little bit on all the lakes, but especially Godfrey. Now we'll go to rural sales. First off, the rural res, we're at 90%, so we were barely on schedule for that. Ag bare land, tillable land, we were at 92%, but on the east and central parts of the county, we were a little low. And then here's the big one, as it has been the last few years. Rural vacant land was valued at 20% below the market sales. And remember, we raised our value in 2023, 50%, and then we also got a state order of 10% on top of that. And then we raised it last year 35%, and even after that, we're still low. Each year, assessors review and record new construction and add that to the valuation of properties, and statute requires that that be reported separately. They also must review sales and apply indicated sales ratio market changes to revalue property each year. This is our 2025 new construction, and you can see throughout the county it was $32,394,000. Last year we were at $32,350,000, so it's been very consistent on new construction. This is the new construction just in the city, so you can see East Grand and Crookston as would be expected as more new construction than other places. Lost here. This is our map for residential total changes. The next few slides each includes land and buildings and new construction on the property type shown. So residential and seasonal rec, that's what this is. The changes that we made brought it up about 1% countywide. In the cities here, notice the increase for Fisher and Fertile. As I pointed out earlier, the ratios, we were low on both of those, but on the other hand, Winger and McIntosh, we were high. So we made those changes to the value on those two jurisdictions. This is our 2025 map for commercial industrial property changes, where we were low. You can see we went up about 7-8% countywide, and then Crookston, East Grand, and Foston. Lake improvement changes. You can see Maple Lake we went down. Union Lake we went up, and Sarah went up a little bit. As mentioned, the ratios showed that we needed to go there. Here is the lakeshore front foot rates, and this was the rate that we changed. That was kind of the problem area where we were at 140%, and that was the main change that we did. Here are ag land changes by percentage. Note that in the East Polk or East and Central portions, we went up 15%, 10%, 5%. Where out in the valley, it was much less change over there. But also notice that we went up 25% and 23% on the non-till and waste. This is the 2024 values, the averages for tillable, for non-till and waste. And for 2025, after the changes we made, these are the averages. So they went up quite a bit, just the non-till and the waste. After making these changes, as guided by the ratio studies, let's look at the ratio changes. We'll start by comparing the updated 2025 values to the 2024 sales that these values are based on. Again, this stuff is this map is in this thing here, or these books. And we'll zoom in and get it a little bit closer so you can see what the changes were resulted in. You can see we were at 98% in small towns after the changes. Fertile and Fisher, where we were low, we are now 92 and 94%. And then McIntosh, we're right at 100%. And Winger, we're at 111. That was because Winger sales have been very strong for several years, and we don't want to get into wild valuation swings if we don't have to. There weren't enough sales there were only 4 sales, so we were cautious on how we approached that one. Crookston and East Grand Forks commercial industrial. You can see we're now at 95% on industrial and 72 on commercial. We were actually advised by the Department of Revenue to be cautious on commercial because the prior year we had to go down on it. So, and again, it's those wild swings they don't like. Next on lake sales, you can see in Lake Sarah, Union, and Maple were all within the guidelines. And after the changes to that one rear map factor, or the rear front foot values, we're now at 100% on those sales. And Godfrey Township, which was at 116, is now at 100%. Okay, so rural res, we were at 90%, now we're at 94. Tillable, we were at 92%, now we're at 95, and we're still low in the furthest east portion, but we're okay everywhere else. The rural vacant land, we're now at 93 after being at 80% before. 2025 trends, we'll compare the sales since the beginning of the sales study since October 1st, 2024. And to the new values. And here you can see Crookston, East Grand Forks, we're at 96 and 98%. Industrial, we have got 3 sales, 117%, so we're still trying to figure out where we need to be there. Commercial, 75%. On our small towns, we're at 94%. You can see Winger where we were being cautious. It was probably the right decision to be cautious because now they're at 77%, only 2 sales though. But everywhere else we're running pretty decent on our ratios. Same thing on cable, or pardon me, on the lakes. Haven't had any sales on Lake Sarah, but Maple Lake we're at around 95, 98%. Same thing on Union Lake. So we're looking very good there. And rural residential, we're at 90% again. Ag land, we're at 100%, still lagging a tad in the east. And then rural vacant, which has been our trouble spot for a few years, we're at 87%, but some signs are showing we're not too bad. So we still need more information on that. State orders. 2024, we did not have any state orders. The Department of Revenue decides based on statistical analysis of all our sales ratios that our values are incorrect if our values are incorrectly reflecting the available sales. And the state board can issue an order to make changes to our current year assessment. For 2025, there are no state orders recommended, and that has been finalized. Do you have any questions for me? And if not, thank you for listening. Appreciate all the help and support we get. And if you ever have any questions on anything, public, anyone, feel free to give us our office a call and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're running a little ahead of time, but
I'll just leave it there.
I know it. Is Gary Enright here?
Yeah, we do.
Certainly not.
Maybe we can, he's ought to come back to him.
We do that. Brandon Peabody? Okay. Okay, so if you want,
Come up here with,
Yeah.
sit with us and
And so if there's anything that you want us to know, you got 10 minutes.
I Brandon Peabody. I live at 1503 Crystal Circle in East Grand Forks, Minnesota. I have a 2026 property tax statement that came out to me that has an increase of $131,000 jump from 2025 to 2026. When I did some research, no one else in my area in the last 3 years has seen anywhere near that kind of jump on their home value. So I'm curious to where I'm getting compared to or how that number came about. I don't agree with it at all.
Okay. So Tiffany, I don't know,
Yes.
you wanna answer those questions?
Sure, yeah, so in December of 2024, Jenny and myself actually were out doing, permit rechecks and were, visited Brandon's home, and verified some information, between, his wife and himself on the property. And so there were some, changes that were made at that time. Specifically, we, adjusted, basement finish, which previously was incorrect, added a gas fireplace, and adjusted some square footage due to remeasuring, based off of the last visit in Quintile. And picked up some brick veneer, a new OP porch in the back of the property, a patio, and then some concrete along the garage, which was all added as new construction.
When you guys originally assessed the property before I moved in, the basement was finished. I did have a gas fireplace upstairs at that time. My porch was complete. I did not add any brick. This was a brand new home before I moved into it and all these improvements were made. I did add a concrete patio in the back, which is not in the picture. But the concrete slab on the side of my driveway, you can see in that photo on the right-hand side of your screen, has a slab on the left-hand side of my driveway that was there at the time of assessment. So again, the $131,000 jump, I just don't see where that is at.
So what was picked up as new construction, like total value?
I do not have that number in front of me right now, but.
In certified,
You know that,
yeah, so I'm showing for house and garage, $144,100 and the other $9,700.
And the other I didn't mention previously, that was the shed in the backyard, that was
No, that's fine. What was the year built?
2022.
Okay, so it's basically been 3 years that you've been receiving a break because it wasn't picked up correctly. You're not disputing that this stuff is there, correct?
No, I'm not. You can see the shed slab sitting
Right.
there. I built a structure on there, so I agree I should have to pay taxes on that.
Right. So
But the other elements were there at
They just
time.
weren't picked up. So like, the assessor who went out and viewed it the first time or when
Yep.
it was built clearly missed some things.
Okay,
I don't know if you'd be sitting here today if those were picked up and assessed at when your house was built,
okay,
because that value would have already been there.
okay.
You can look at it a few different ways of, yes, you're getting a huge jump this time, but that's 3 years worth of not paying for that stuff.
When I look at the other comparables in my area, these other people have these things. And now I have someone that I have a $36,000 difference with. Now I'm gonna be $44,000 higher than somebody else, $12,000, $6,000. And the one that I feel that
Instead
I'm.
of $100,000 or
No,
more, less
based
than
on,
them.
based on my 2026, I will be more.
Right, like,
and the big kicker
like
for
I said, if
me-
you go back 3 years, for the last 3 years, you've been over $100,000 less than them, correct?
No,
No?
there's an address that I will now be $126,000 higher,
Okay.
more
Well, I thought
than.
you were saying $3,000 more than.
No,
$5,000
I'm giving you a
more.
list of other parcels in that area that I'm gonna be higher than now.
Right, but what, you
And-
get what I'm saying, like,
I understand what you're saying, but do you hear what I'm saying? These
Yes.
homes have the same things and they're not assessed at that value.
yes,
So is where does that valuation come from if it's not assessed across the board?
where are
And
we at? on
my
the-
sense in this is, I drew 90% of these homes in this area. I'm in the industry, so I know what they are and how they're built.
Yeah, I'm not
So I just don't
disputing that.
see that valuation difference. I agree it should go up some, but not that.
Was there a permit this year? Like, what drove us to review this property this
There
year?
was a recheck on the property, from back when it was originally picked up as a new construction home in 2022.
So all the other ones are considered complete? They don't have rechecks, like in that neighborhood, like in that cul-de-sac?
All of the rechecks and permits were completed, at the same premises in that area,
There were other rechecks done at that time?
yes.
Do we know if any of those other properties were picked up with new construction?
I don't know as far as the specific properties he's referring to that he's looking at, but I do know that we did talk with Brandon about some of the properties that he brought up when we were there doing the interior review for the appeal.
Mhm.
We did inform him that we did take a look at those properties, and I believe that some of those properties will get updated in Quintile this year, based on our reviews.
Sure.
Field reviews.
Yeah, I was just wondering what drove us to see, to reviewing it outside of Quintile, and then when the other ones will be reassessed.
Yeah, so they will
Okay.
be this summer, they will be all reassessed in that area.
Okay.
So why was my property rechecked this year?
Because they hadn't picked up, from what I'm gathering, it is we didn't have it fully complete in the assessment. Right? It was listed as,
So when I closed on the property, it was fully assessed. I had to have an assessment done to close at the bank.
from Polk County Assessor's Office, you needed it, or
I believe
from-
I have some photos that I believe the past assessor did take. I didn't bring those with me tonight,
And I'm
unfortunately.
not saying that it wasn't
Yep.
assessed or anything, I'm just wondering if they left any until complete obsolescence, like waiting, cause it could be 85% done in their
Sure.
eyes.
Sure.
Just
The photos that I have show
Yeah.
it complete. Flooring was in,
Sure.
paint was in, so all of the things that she listed off here, minus the back shed being built and the paver patio and back, were complete at that time.
Okay, thank you.
My notes indicate the last, exterior review was in December of 2022.
And was built in 2022, correct?
Correct.
So was there any until complete obsolescence listed on there?
Not
prior?
until complete, it was a recheck for checking for basement finish.
Okay. You said you had some comparables. Do you have those other addresses or parcels? or anything?
They're right directly in that
Just the
area.
ones in that
Yep,
cul-de-sac?
direct, well, not exactly in that cul-de-sac, they could be on that street.
That road?
But
Okay,
they are all in that vicinity, in that
Yep.
development. Every one of them are.
Thank you.
And those are valuations, correct?
Those are valuations that I'm looking at, yep,
Okay, thank you.
from your guys' website.
Okay, thank you.
Just so I got it right, it's all in crystal?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions for him?
Have any other questions?
Is there anything else you want to present for us?
I feel that's it, I guess this is my first time doing this, I really don't know the process of how this works.
Yeah, so what we'll do now is we'll go through all of the appeals of everybody who's on the schedule tonight, and then we'll go through them one by one with the board here and
Sure.
and discuss more with the assessors. And then we'll make our decision later on tonight. You can either stick around or you'll be notified.
Sure.
By the assessment
Yeah,
staff.
we send out letters on that.
Sure, but otherwise, if I stick around, I'll find out tonight, yay or nay.
I would assume, yeah, at some point tonight, yeah.
Sure. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Enright? Hi.
Hi, I'm Gary Enright. I have property in question. It's 817 23rd Street Northwest, East Grand Forks, Minnesota.
It's a vacant lot.
Yes, sir. That's a controlled access street. We share a common driveway with somebody. With this.
Right, and so what I'm looking at is, let's see, after the appeal. So right now, Andy, you guys are recommending that it be valued at 35,400 compared to the 43,000?
Yes. When we redid East Grand Forks' land 2 years ago, it got put on as a improved lot. And so the adjustment to the vacant lot is the change from the 43,000 to the 35,400
Okay.
to match the area vacant lot rate.
Okay.
And this was a change sheet that I have approved.
Yeah, so that, right now, the current value is 35,400 if we make no change, okay.
Okay.
And Mr. Enright, what are you looking for? What,
I believe the property is overvalued. I went from a $19,400 assessment up to a $43,000 assessment. That's roughly 121% increase. There's nothing on the lot, but not even a tree. I have, well, I'll wait. I have comparables of sales right across the street, which are golf course lots, and have what they've sold for. And the price reduction the city took, East Grand Forks took, because the lots were overvalued. They reduced all the lot prices comparable to mine by $8,700. I have 5 copies if anybody would care to see.
if you want to pass those around, that
Can we
would
look at them?
Anybody else?
Joan.
All I have is 4, I apologize.
No problem. No problem.
No problem.
And am I to understand that you have it listed for sale currently at 34,900?
Yes, sir. It's been listed for approximately 3 months. We've had one call from the realtor, and he says the call, they were inquiring if the house next to mine, the adjoining lot, went with the property, simply because it's a shared driveway.
Sure. And Annie, can you walk us through a little bit then of the land schedule over there?
Yep.
please?
So we look, we have it broke down into 3 categories really that's used for the main. If it's 1 square foot to 9,999, we use for vacant lot, we call it East Grand Forks B. That starts at $3 a square foot and tiers down every 10,000 square feet. So the first tier would be $3 a square foot, second tier would be $2.50, and so on and so forth. His lot is bigger, so it falls into the 10,000 to kind of unlimited category, and that tier is at every 10,000 it starts at $2.50 and then tiers down 50 cents every tier.
And that's, that's because it's a larger lot.
Right.
Okay.
So what is the square footage of it?
Yeah.
15,185 square feet.
15,185.
Okay.
So the first 10,000 of it's at $2.50, and then the rest of it's at $2 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
How much was that 250 a square foot?
10,000.
10,000, okay.
Yeah, the first 10,000
Okay.
$2.50.
And it's a total of 15,000.
15,000 total square, yeah,
185.
185.
15,185.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the comparables that you put together on your own?
I'm sorry.
These are the other comparables you put together on your own?
Yes, well,
As listed?
yeah.
From
Yeah,
information.
from real estate people and from the city of East Grand Forks when we're dealing with their lots.
Sure.
Yeah, the parcel right next door is 15,078 square feet. Being it's improved, that's why it's at $3 on the first one.
Yeah.
So the parcel right next to just to the left on the picture, is 15,078 square feet. But being it has a house on it, the first 10,000 are at $3, and then the next 5,078 are at $2.50. So I mean, it's
I see.
pretty much they are on the same.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other bigger lots over there?
There is some on the golf course side that the city does own, and they have slashed the prices pretty good.
Well, yeah, but how are we valuing them?
That
That's what I'm more interested to make sure that we're being equitable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'm looking at one off of here, the 4072, 83.04072, 15,347 square feet. And that one, the first 14,000 are at 2.25, and then 1,347 are at 175.
is that a city-owned exempt
Yes,
one?
yeah.
So exempt did not get put on to the
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, we were planning to, when we did it, it was
Yeah,
at
okay.
the end of the year, and the exempt lots didn't get,
Don't necessarily have to be updated, so, okay.
but that will be updated this year. During
Yeah.
And that'll go with the next, or the
It'll follow the same
Yeah.
schedule.
guidelines. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you try to find me a better lot over there that
Yeah,
I'm
I'm working on it. Most of the ones I'm pulling up are
gonna be city owned?
Yeah.
Which when they sell, they're not used in any sales studies because they're sold from a exempt entity or
Yep.
government
Mhm.
entity.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's one, parcel 834074, so it's just to the north of this, on the north side of this street. Total square footage of 15,891 square feet, and it's on the same schedule as the parcel in question, where the first 10,000 square feet are being valued at $2.50 per square foot, and then the additional 5,891 square feet are being valued at the $2 per square foot. So that particular parcel, again, total square footage of 15,891, a total assessed value of $36,800.
It's on the same schedule.
Correct.
Yeah.
I guess it's to the north and a half a block west of the parcel in question.
So his tax, I can say something, right? So his tax statement went out at 43,000.
Correct.
And then you guys noticed that there was a discrepancy or something that you
Yeah,
changed.
He came, I wanna say the first day of the open book.
And then you redid it to your normal calculations and you came up with 35,4,
Correct.
okay? And what changed to that, are you asking?
I'm sorry.
What changed to the 35,400, are you asking?
My realtor and I looked at all the information we had, and that's, I was wanting to ask 32,000 for it.
Sure.
But he thought it'd be more appropriate and at 34.9.
34.9, yeah, okay. Well, if somebody would buy it, they would have some equity.
I mean, obviously, we wanna sell it for as much as we can,
Sure.
but I don't think that the lot would ever sell for 28,000.
So what value do you think this is worth? Like, what are you asking us to make an adjustment to? What number?
But in my mind, it's worth $28,000.
So 28 is.
I mean, that's, to me, it's a lot more realistic than 121% increase.
So
But
28
we'll
to
ex-
35.
Yeah,
What,
yeah,
your rate would be 35,400.
yeah.
And you're asking, you would like to ask 28.
Well, I see it would sell at that.
I understand what you're saying, yes.
I can't imagine it going for over 30,000. I just can't see it. Not the way, the city even gave up selling their lots, and they turned it over to a real estate company, and they're letting them deal with it. There's just nothing moving up there. And those are golf course lots, where mine isn't. I mean, there has to be a difference in value there.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? You have anything to add, Andy?
No.
Okay. Anything else that you would like us to know? Mr. Enright? Anything else you would like us to know?
No, that's, we'll cooperate with what we have going here, but, if it's sold for less than the assessment, am I just out the extra tax that I paid for the value of the property, or does that get refunded, or
No, it's,
I'm just
you
out?
wanna explain?
The valuations are for, or any appeals are for 2025 assessment payable 2026. The time for appealing the taxes of 2025 were last year.
Well, I'll just say one thing, the property is not worth that, and I'll abide with what you decide.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, we will, after we go through all the appointments here.
That's
then-
fine.
Then we will, make a decision
That's fine.
on each one, and either you can stick around and wait, or else we will notify you by letter.
Yeah, we'll probably just go home.
Okay,
We'll just, if I could just have one copy back,
Yeah.
just one.
Right here you go.
Okay. Then, I'm sorry I didn't bring it up.
Oh, you're
oh, that's fine.
fine, you're fine.
All right, thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you. Next, Seth Carr. Is he showed up? Nope. Are you here for the gun club? Okay, well, why don't you come forward?
Hey, I'm Craig LaPlante. I'm the vice president of the Crookston Gun Club. And we were going through our evaluations on the club, and we noticed our valuation jumped from a market value of $49,300 to $220,700. So that's going to be a pretty large jump. The gun club is a 501c7 tax exempt entity, and our club has election of officers, and I think one of the things that we're missing is a land use exemption certificate on taxation because of a lack of officers keeping up on these exemptions that should be going through, and it got dropped several years ago. And so that's part of what happened is a jump in there as well too. But the gun club, I wish Wayne Swanson could be here. He was the president, and he's one of the founding members of the gun club years ago when that was the county dump area. Highly contaminated soils and everything else. I haven't broke down and started taking lead samples, arsenic samples, mercury samples, or anything like that, but that was the dump for everything in the Crookston area. So there's car bodies, there's concrete, there's all kinds of refuse out there, but it was also a lot of chemical cans. There was treated seed from arsenic and mercury when we used to treat seed that way at the Crookston elevator and everything else. So to what levels those are still out there and where they're at in that property, unless I start doing a very extensive soil sampling, which would be very expensive to start opening up, and I don't want to have to do that. It's going to get expensive. There's no liner in that facility either. So what we're doing too is out that facility is the university used to rent that 9 acres for test plot work. So they couldn't harvest them and sell the materials. It was just used for test plot work to prove chemistries and fertilizer regimes and that kind of stuff. So they grew sugar beets, they grew wheat, they grew soybeans, they grew corn in rotations out there, but couldn't use it for sale. It was just to prove yields and prove efficacy of fertilizer use or chemistry use. So granted, it can grow sugar beets, but you can't sell anything off of it because of contamination uptake. So we can't. So the facility's just using, that acres is using for test plots. So the gun club is putting it in, we're looking at actually taking that 9-10 acres and putting it into a RIM program or an EQIP program for the pollinator programs. We just got done spending $1,800 in additional trees, shrubs, bushes, everything else like that, which will give benefit to the university and to Highway 75 for snow removal and that kind of stuff, blocking some snow close to the city as well. So what we're asking for is just a change in evaluation to drop it back down from being where it's valued at now at $220,000 to bring it back down to where it was at. It's got very limited use. There's no well on it. You can't put a well on it. Bernie Leader was the one that signed off on that site in 1974, 75. So there is a record of him signing it off as a garbage dump. So, you know, the value is just in our buildings. In our buildings, our old buildings that were moved on to the facility, and they were, you know, recited many years ago. There hasn't been any improvements to the facilities as far as that goes. So we're just asking for a reasonable evaluation.
And the dump area was just in that northwest corner, correct? The 20 acres or so in the upper left
Yeah,
corner?
you can kind of see just north of the trap houses, those little three concrete figurine type deals, and then up.
Yeah, I
The
just
whole-
wanted, yeah, it was that
Yeah, and
corner.
then there's a
I saw
big
the-
concrete hill, and it's pushed up, so there's concrete, there's car bodies, and then there was supposed to be 2 feet of topsoil that was put on top of that. But out in the other areas, there's parts in there, there's still junk that is you can't do anything up in there because of the junk up in there, and wire and fence posts and everything else up there. There's a couple low areas up in there that retain water, so they're cattails and stuff like that. So at least they're habitat for ducks and deer and whatever else up there. But we can't get up there and mow to do any improvements in there as well either. So it's a shooting range.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
And as a 501c7, that's still a nonprofit and cannot be commercial, correct?
Correct. So it's, if we would, we can change our C level and change our level, but at a 507C, it's for youth.
Yep.
So youth and university students and those kind of things.
Yeah, no, I'm asking that because I noticed there, Andy told me that he had changed part of the allocations of the value to commercial. So I would question if we're able, that would be a highest and best use, being it as their organization cannot be for commercial purposes.
Well, and that, once you said the 501c7, it got me wondering, we should send an exempt app to, I had no idea.
Like I said, it probably got dropped in
And
the
I'm not
cycle.
certain that a 501c7 qualifies, a 501c3, it's a definite.
Yeah, there's
But
slight differences, but
this might be an exempt thing.
yeah, not sure if it's gonna be a full exempt. It is
Well,
part of it, because it's a club. I wonder if it's like a service club, like the Eagles and Elks or whatever, you know, those types of service clubs, which are taxable. I don't know if it falls into that category or not, but we definitely shouldn't be listing it as commercial, I wouldn't think, and taxing them at that rate as an allocation of commercial property, because they can't be for profit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying on that part of it?
Yeah,
I would love to look into the exemption for them, like,
yeah,
if we could do
we'll
that.
send an exempt app out for sure.
Okay. Do you have, you've got our post office box address
I
then?
presume it's,
So it gets to
Wherever
our
the
current
tax statement is.
treasurer
Hold on.
and people?
I got it.
I think it was a PO.
PO Box 259.
Correct.
And then Mr.
Okay, so I
LaPlante,
already got it.
before the meeting tonight, I know Andy has already made an adjustment that he's
Yep.
recommending, if you are aware of that or not.
Yep, we went through that the other day.
Yeah, so it's not the 220,000 anymore, it
Yep, it's down
adjusted
to
down to
that
154.3.
157 or something.
154.3.
Yeah.
But it's still a quite a big of
Yeah.
But then that still includes the commercial
correct.
designation.
Well, yes, yep.
So would it get changed back to the non-homestead rural vacant land status then if it would get changed?
That I would leave up to the assessor's office.
Or
of
what
how
would
they
it change back to?
classify it.
What was it?
It was non-homestead.
Right
I
here.
mean, if it can't be,
Yeah.
you know, and this is something that the board can do, is change the class to what they see fit, and that could be a thing. We could change that class back to the what it was, and then send out the exemption app. And I can't make any guarantees. I'd have to do some research and find out exactly what it qualifies for and what it does.
It was not.
And with that, Craig, that wouldn't change the value, what we're talking about right now. It
Sure.
would just be the rate at which you'd be taxed because
Right.
of the classification.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Because the idea is to build it up in kind of a beautiful showcase just outside the city so that we can host, as members, we host weddings out there, graduation receptions, high school graduation pictures, and that's why we did such an extensive tree planting as well too. And we're gonna continue to do that, but there also help as bioremediation if we do have arsenic or lead, and we know we got lead because we're shooting out there, but arsenic or mercury or other heavy metals, at least through the trees and the plantings and everything else, we're bioremediating and we're holding that in versus letting it go down into the groundwaters.
And with the high school, is there a contract with the Crookston High School?
It's not with the high school, because the high school trap team is basically listed as a club team.
Independent, okay.
It's independent of the high school, and then the same with the college. So the college shoots out there as well, and so both the high school and the college are shooting spring and fall.
Yeah, so you guys just kind of donate the space for them?
Yep.
Okay, that's.
Yep, and then they
kinda
buy the targets from us, of course, and that kind of thing.
That's where the F comes from, like 501CF? Would be because it's for.
C7.
C7.
C7 for,
Yeah, it's
Youth
just
and
the
students.
section of the
code,
code.
of the code, yep, I understand.
And like,
Do you charge anything for hosting?
Yeah, that's what I was
events or
wondering.
anything like that?
If they're a member, we still do like $50 to
Okay,
cover electricity,
cover
water,
costs.
and that kind of stuff. And we have to haul all the water out, so we non-potable
so
water.
it's nonprofit,
No.
period.
No, it's nonprofit, period.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
the police force, Crookston Police use it for their training. And then so does, at times, we've had some Polk County Sheriff deputies out there to do trainings. And they do night trainings and all that kind of stuff as well too out there.
and I think one of the big differences of the 501c3 to the C7 is the funding. One is usually like grant or whatever fund, and you guys are
Fundraising.
member due funded,
Members
like
due funded.
members.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. We do try to write some grants through the NRA. There's also the Minnesota Clay Target League. And those are more grants to help our students get, help defray costs for their shooting costs and that kind of stuff for jerseys or vests to represent, because the school doesn't buy jerseys for them. They're non-recognized club sport, so those are the kind of grants we write.
And just so I'm clear for myself, again, you're looking to go back to the value from the
Or
prior
very
year?
close,
Well, just because I want, we have to kind of
if we can,
We have to be able
Yeah.
to justify.
yeah,
look at what. we're-
exactly. We know there's an increase just because everything else, properties and buildings took an increase, but,
I believe, if I'm correct, if the land value went up quite a bit because there was a lot of obsolescence on there.
The building value didn't change, it was
Previously.
all on land. It was-
Cause it is tilled.
mhm.
Mhm.
But like I said, that'll be planted back into pollinators and grasses and you name it, and through the RIM program or through the NRCS equip programs.
Mhm.
The non-building site, not the spots where it's not the shooting range is not on, and the non-tillable, or the tillable stuff. Other than that, we have it on as a lower non-tillable rate, after Andy reviewed it. Because of the contamination that you were talking about. That's how it is. We updated the value.
Is this a quarter section?
No, it's 42 acres just about.
Just above 40.
Okay.
Yeah, 41.8 acres.
But like you said, even though it's tillable, you can't sell anything.
No. Right now, that tillable acres right now on the outside rims is seeded into a 13 species mix cover crop for the pollinators. And then inside is 2 different hybrid sweet sorghum plants, varieties that are in there that are being worked through with the Department of Energy and the Minnesota Governor's Office, Tim Walz, as an ethanol fuel research center. So that's just this 1 year of that, and then that transitions us into the pollinators then. But being that it's a research site, and there was all the different chemicals from beets and soybeans and whatever, we put that in there so that we could metabolize those chemistries out before we put the investment into the seed mix. That seed mix is about $500 an acre, so I don't need chemistries killing them. So, Okay,
Okay, anybody else have any other questions? No? Anything else that you,
no,
okay,
I guess I'm good. So,
okay, well,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Seth Carr did not show up, correct?
Correct. What time was he scheduled for?
Been 6:50?
6:50.
Okay, so we,
Yeah, so
He's had
15
plenty of
minutes,
time.
yeah, mm-hmm, okay. Okay, let's move on to the assessor recommendations.
Melanie is.
Are you playing Melanie tonight?
I'm playing Mel tonight, yes. So basically, she visited a home for Pam DeLage. Pam is a member of the Gently Township Board, local board, and so given there was not a quorum after she removed herself from voting, we were not able to vote on this change at the meeting. And so the change was, last year the property was in quintile review and there was an addition that had egress windows, so based on our office guidelines, Mel added living quarters to basement finish. And Pam informed us at the meeting that it is not living quarters finish, and Mel did an interior review and discovered it was not, and it should be properly listed as minimal finish. So the requested value adjustment is attributed to that change in basement finish condition.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
To the 344,200.
Correct.
Got it.
Good.
Okay. Moving on.
And I will just stay right here because I'm next. So the next.
Now? No.
Yeah. The next one is property in the city of Fisher. For Jesse Schulte, I went and he had presented himself at the local board meeting. Unfortunately, was not able to do an interior review the night of the meeting. So the local board voted no change, and I did subsequently do an interior review and made several changes to the property, including some plumbing listings, dwelling square feet based on remeasuring, removed a deck, and adjusted the dwelling grade and the garage / shed conditions and grade. And so based on that, that adjusted the value from 199,800 to 171,800.
Okay, any questions? Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Yep.
This one just came up today, so.
They snuck it in the wire at 2:00. Met with Richard and Linda Klein in East Grand Forks, and they had a realtor over and they realized that our square footage was incorrect. So they had me come out and take a look, and after remeasuring, I adjusted square foot on the main floor and adjusted square foot in the basement. And I am recommending an increase from 413,200 to 440,700.
and the clients were
They were,
understanding that you were gonna
yes,
suggest an increase or recommend an increase?
yes. And I flat out asked them, I said, you want me to suggest the increase? And they said, yes.
So
And
the
then-
square footage we had was less than what?
Correct.
Okay,
It was about,
300 feet?
uh,
350?
basement was a little bit more, upstairs was about 300. Overall, I think it was about 800 square feet.
oh, okay,
The basement one it's a little tougher. There hadn't been an interior review on the basement, so it was estimated at some point.
Yeah, sorry, I just looked at the sketch.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
okay,
So that is my recommendation for them.
okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, Does anybody need to take a break before we go on decisions? Everybody good?
I'm fine.
I'm good.
Okay, so then let's continue on. Okay, so the first one then is, the vacant lot of, Enrights.
I didn't add this when he was still here, but the parcel that I had referenced as a comparable that was similar size, same valuation schedule, it did sell in September of 2022 with a sales price of $30,000. Our value at the time was $34,800, sold for $30,000.
When was that sale?
2022, September of
2022, to basically 3 years ago.
Yeah, and it's still vacant. There's been no improvement on that lot at this time.
It's in that same area?
Yep, it's a
Just north of.
just north and slightly west of that particular property.
Okay, so the recommended is going from 43 down to 35.4.
That change has already been
That
made.
change was made
Mhm.
during open book.
The recommendation, or what we're looking at is either 35.4, because it's already at that,
Okay,
or whatever we want to adjust to, or
Okay.
however we go.
okay.
To be honest, looking at all the ones around it, they're all valued similar. They're all
Mhm.
valued the same.
In that 35 range?
Yeah,
Mhm.
on that same schedule, depending on how large they are,
Mhm.
they're all at the same. You know, everything is valued equitably over there.
And if these changes are, if we make a change to your 35.4, that would only be for the 1 year, right?
No, 35.4 is the value.
Yep.
If we were to change to 28, it would be for 1 year,
For 1 year.
because he's asking for 28 or whatever we decide.
Yep.
And again, he has it listed for sale for 34.9.
Right.
Mhm.
I understand his logic, and I understand all of that. I like what you just said. That makes the most sense to me. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. If we gave him an assessed value, let's say, or a estimated value of, let's say 31. That's a bit of a compromise, and he's got 1 year to try and sell it at that lower. But it only changes it from 1 year, right?
But it doesn't treat everybody around him equitably.
Correct, exactly, I understand that.
That's where I'm gonna be hung up is,
Right. And then plus two, that if we lower the value, does not mean that he's gonna lower his sale price.
Correct.
yeah, it's
The way I look at that is, Chiefs, if it's 35.4, he's got equity built if he sells it for 30. To whoever buys it.
yeah, and he's only had it listed since April 11th.
Yeah, I agree.
So 2 months worth of being on the market. Have there been any bigger lot sales over there in the besides that one that Annalee listed in the last 2 years or even?
Yeah, there was a bigger one across the street, just down in the golf course.
Oh, and a golf.
I wanna say it was about 50,000, but it was a larger lot. It was a end of the cul-de-sac there where it comes down from. But as far as any other ones off the top of my head,
Is this lot on the east side or west side of River Road? River Road is north-south.
I believe it's east of River Road.
So when you say golf course, yeah,
River Road.
it's not in the golf course clubhouse area, it's on the other side of
It's
the,
on the south side of 23.
yeah, it'd be south of 23, but
And
east or
just-
west of River Road is what I'm,
East, yeah,
okay.
it's,
Just before 8th Avenue.
I agree with what you're saying, Sam. I mean, 43 to the 35.4 is a decent adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, you corrected it to
Make it
fit what it
equitable.
should have been.
Yeah. to the current land schedule.
I would suggest that you guys look into an abatement for last year, so current year tax, for a clerical error on listing it incorrectly. Looking into it, I'm not saying you have to do it, but I would suggest we look at that, being, you said we just didn't find it when we updated the schedule.
Sure.
And when I first met with him, when he had mentioned it being done the last year, I had told him at the time to appeal that had been passed, and he had mentioned he had some medical issues around that time he let me know that, so.
Yeah, but I think it's our office's responsibilities to say when we have made the mistake, to correct those mistakes when they're clerical errors, such as not updating something to the correct schedule. Even if it's past the time of appeal, we have those avenues when it's our mistake. But at 35-4, I don't think it's a mistake.
I don't either.
We'll send the abatement application.
Yeah, I would suggest that. But, so I would make a motion for no change on this particular one.
Okay, someone like to second that?
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of no change at leaving it at 35-4, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Difficult one.
Okay, on to the next one.
And is your Vanguard working?
What's that?
Is your Vanguard working?
It is good. Kicked me out earlier.
Kicked me out a couple times.
It was,
Mine hasn't kicked me out yet, so don't put it in the universe.
Because you're sitting next to Tim.
It's better. He's got the vibe.
Was that cheese and onion sandwich? Okay, conversation here.
Which one of them? Mr. Peabody's?
Mm-hmm.
Sam, what did you want in Vanguard? Or are you back in?
I got it back up. And it won't hurt to have others looking though at the same time here. What I'm looking for, or trying to determine, is how the properties surrounding it, did we not pick anything up there, or do we still have things that we should probably review? How was this treated as new construction, and was it because we missed something, or was, where's the underlying thing of, are we finally to the right spot on it, or did we go over?
Yeah, I from what I've seen, it's mainly because of new construction, especially the basement finish. One thing I did.
And Mr. Peabody, what we mean by new construction on that would be things that weren't picked up prior to this assessment. Not that anything was built new or anything like that, but it was something that wasn't valued previously.
And that was in 2022,
Was when it was built.
right?
That's when it was built, correct? 22?
Correct.
And then so,
And what was it appraised in 2022?
don't know, let me look, see if I get this right. The first time that there was full value that it looks like on here was 462,700.
And that was in 2022.
Yeah, the 23 assessment.
I get it. Okay.
That was, how much was that?
462, 700.
700.
And that was in 22?
23's assessment, so for 24's taxes.
Okay,
But yeah, finished in 22, finally picked up in 23,
Mhm.
paid for in 20. Okay, so what did they have on there?
I'm on the same wavelength there, Sam. I was wondering what the other two next to it.
Yep, the property to the left, 1428 Crystal Circle, that property was constructed in 2016, just as, for a year built, and the other side was constructed in 2017.
But have there been any adjustments? Because I am assuming it was the same appraiser who went out and viewed all three of these. Did that appraiser back then pick up stone, fireplace, all the stuff that was missed at Mr. Peabody's? Was that all originally picked up, or was there a big value change from somewhere after the?
Parcel directly next door, 1429 Crystal Circle. There was a significant valuation increase between 23 assess year and 24 assess year. That parcel went from not as significant as the parcel in question, 588.7 to 62300. And it does not look like that was from new construction.
Right, so here's my next question on these. You say it because it's gonna be in the quintile this year, correct?
Yes.
So in 23 or whatever Annalie's looking at for that big increase, why were we there?
It was the land change in East Grand Forks.
So we went and did physical reviews of houses for land change?
No, that's the.
That's the increase?
Yeah.
Okay. That was simply land?
Yes.
Okay, so there wasn't an increase, like, I'm looking
Sure,
I'm
sorry,
looking
total
improvement
value.
change.
Total.
Yeah, let's look for improvement change.
Okay.
Sorry,
No, that's
sorry, folks.
all right.
Hey, you're helping. Fortunately, I'm following.
Good.
That don't happen very often, this stuff.
Besides the two parcels directly next door to you, what were some of the other ones that you had referenced?
You said just down Crystal Circle.
No, Crystal Circle, I looked down Brandon Boulevard, I looked down Nate Circle, and I looked down Laurel Drive. I looked at houses in that development.
Okay.
Is what I figured, I'm assuming that that's where you're comparing for a comparable.
I needed another frame of reference to
Yep.
start looking at this.
No, absolutely.
And in that circle, there's two vacant lots, is that what I'm seeing?
Correct.
What are they valued at?
2 seconds.
is Crystal Circle on the south end or east or north end of East Grand Forks?
South end.
Okay, I'm trying to vision where that is, but,
Roughly for the one on the left.
oh yeah,
How much are?
okay, yeah,
29.4.
not far from Bob's house,
One on the
Nope,
left, and
maybe
then
block
the
away.
other one.
okay. Well, my thought or concern here is, are we comparing these properties fairly, all of them? All three of them, or is some of them being appraised higher than others
32.8 for
based on
238?
That's what.
just what they are?
Yeah, I think
One
that's what
thing
he's.
that is notoriously hard to get to get information on if you haven't viewed the interior is basement finish. That is a one where
Mhm.
you don't know until you're in there. So that's one thing.
My concern is about fairness between the properties.
Appears to be maybe a difference in the square footage, but
And land prices are the same for everybody there?
Should be
Yeah,
same rate anyway.
That's what I meant.
yeah.
What's the lot price sell for in that spot?
he's got it.
The same thing, they're roughly in that 30,000.
Just that?
The one on the left is right, I'm not saying they're selling that, but what we have them valued at, the one on the left up there, the bare lot is valued at 29, something. The other one across the road must be a little bigger, cause that's at 32.
There's another lot in that general area that's appraised really high because if it meets some two different streets or whatever and all of the curb and gutter stuff that's appraised in there.
Well, so then they're maybe paying higher specials, but
Yeah.
we
Well,
wouldn't
the lot
value them that
price is-
different.
The lot price is up there because of the specials being so high.
Well, yeah, so that's all special assessments,
that's
not
special
our,
assessment.
that's not our
ours.
valuation of it.
No,
That's
No,
not
but
it.
it's a lot that is not gonna sell because of the price.
Yeah, but they're going by square footage, so
Yeah, okay.
the curb and gutter would be separate. Honestly, I feel like on this one is that we missed a lot of stuff. Mr. Peabody, I have a question for you. Is there anything, did you go through the record with one of the appraisers?
I did not.
Okay, Andy, do you wanna walk through and see if there's anything specific that we have listed that you would care to say, no, I don't think that particular item is correct, like I don't have that, or that's not, you know what I mean?
Back to it, I was looking at the lots there.
Just because in my gut feeling is that we finally got inside or viewed it and picked up what was really there.
So when they came out originally to assess the property, they had just shown up at the house. There was
Yep.
no
That's
warning, no nothing.
standard,
Okay,
standard.
I assumed we had to give a phone call or a notice that assessor is gonna come by my home. What do you do if somebody's not there?
They do an
Leave a
exterior,
note.
yep, leave a door hanger and do an exterior review.
Which is what happened in 2022.
Yeah, so that's the thing is they've changed the standard in the office now where they do send out postcards to let people know they'll be in the area. I believe, when did that start, 23, 24?
Yeah, it was after the,
I was still with
yeah.
her.
We started doing it during the COVID year,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
so when
21.
we
Oh, so he
began,
should have received a postcard.
well, we've kind of, we didn't really do it for the city, the bigger
Oh,
cities,
yeah.
because we figured, it's a lot of mailings
Postage.
to send out.
And it was for
And Warren
quintile.
brought this up last year, and we decided, from now on, we're gonna go do that for everything.
But so the office procedure has changed on notifying and letting people know that they'll be in the area. Because before it's been, you're going out, you have your own schedule. You have to hit 20% of all the properties that are improved, each year. And so each appraiser sets up their own, quintile or their own little route to make sure that they're hitting those numbers per, every property, once every 5 years.
So in 2022, when we moved in, I was never notified, then the assessor never got into my home.
Yeah.
And then when they came this past winter, I did not let them in the house.
Mhm.
They walked around the outside, which was fine. I got my property tax statement in the mail. So at that point, we're already making assumptions that something is done on the inside or not.
Absolutely,
And
so-
when it already was done on the inside, so then when I did have them come back and they did a full assessment, and then now we're just gonna stay where we're at. I mean, something's not
So-
right to see
so-
$131,000 jump. I mean, I understand improvements, I fully do,
Yeah,
but no other home, I would say from Crystal Circle, Brandon Boulevard, Laurel Drive, and Nate Circle have ever seen $131,000 increase
well,
that I looked at.
yeah,
There could be
I
one.
understand that it's a huge jump and all of that. The reasoning could be when we don't get in, when an appraiser doesn't get in, their job now is to estimate and assume, like, look at what's there and what they can see from the outside, and see, they have to go off of that. That is now their assumptions that this basement is either finished or it's not. If they can't tell, they could go with, like I said, either one. This one, it sounds like they went with, it does not appear to be finished in the basement. And that was their initial walk around. That's how it was valued. So once they got in and can see that, okay, there's actually 1,000 square feet of finished basement, that's gonna be a quite an increase in value just in that. So right there, you could see $100,000 increase.
So with some of the homes out there that I'm comparing myself to, again, Lumber Mart has supplied materials for
Absolutely.
those homes. I know their basements are finished. And the one that I'm comparing myself in particular is $126,000 less in value. And so something, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but
I got a question.
I don't agree with it.
What's
I got a
that
I got a question.
I
was gonna say, do you
want
wanna give out an address just so I can look and
They're in that general vicinity. Every home that I've given out is in
yeah,
that.
I understand.
Like I said, we've supplied every house in that area besides one on Crystal Circle.
Do you wanna write it down so I can look at it? And just so I can see if it has basement finish on it?
I can.
Okay. Then at least we'll have an idea of if it's equitable or not, like,
Well, that is quite a jump in valuation.
But I mean, just kind of comparing the ones right close, I mean, the land value varies greatly.
which other ones? Which ones are you looking at?
Well, just the one on both sides.
The cul-de-sacs that will have in with the size of them, with
Yeah,
the square foot.
Mm-hmm.
But they're at the same rate, right?
Yes,
29, 53.
that area has the same improved rate, or an improved rate and a vacant rate as well.
57. Did you want to show me an address or something real quick?
This is just one example. There's many more out there.
Thank you. Like I said, I just wanted for my own here to see if we have it listed.
One of the features that our software has is a comparable sales search. And we can look for sales, and it'll do a comparison, you know, what is listed. Granted, everything may not be listed the same on all of them, but and then you can compare the subject property, Mr. Peabody's property, to other sales, legitimate sales. There's not a lot of 2022 houses sold in East Grand Forks. The only one that we've got is it was actually in this March. And that one sold for $681,000. And it was about a little over 300 per square foot. We have Mr. Peabody's valued at 269 per square foot. Well, and again, it was in March, so it was after, you know. But on the other hand, there was another one in, the closest other sale prior to that was in June of 2024. And that was a 2016 year-built house, and that sold for, well, the adjusted, after all the basement fit, various changes on it, was at 278 per square foot versus 269 per. And again, that's assuming we have the information correct on the inside.
And are those homes directly in that area? In that
Probably
vicinity?
not. This is throughout the city.
The city, okay.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, my big thing, is kind of how I started, is the $131,000 jump. Who am I getting compared to? Because my home is not huge compared to some of the homes in that vicinity.
Yeah. What I'm getting at
Yeah.
is our job is to find what the most likely sale price is.
Understand.
And that's the most likely is actually sales. So.
There's just a few things. There are a few things different on the two. but yeah, there is basement listed on the other one. The grade of their home is not as high as yours, so if you guys wanna explain grade, it's a 3 versus a 3+5.
3, well, it's just basically 5%. We are, a typical house is generally a grade 4.
What's the range on that you get? What's the highest grade you get?
Well, the highest that we in Polk County have is, there's a couple that are in the one ranges, is
1+10.
1+10.
E is mansions.
6 minus 30 is the lowest. So it's a very similar grade that Sam mentioned there.
The grade would be considered the quality of the construction at the time that it's built.
So I guess my comment to that would be, again, I sold the materials for
Yeah.
both homes. Both homes had, I can tell you, identical materials. The one difference, they have steel siding, they have vinyl siding.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the difference.
And again, 2020 compared to 2022, you're built with an appraiser going out there and making their best guess or their best value on it. And to be to a 3.5, to be honest, it's, like I said, within 5% on a big scale. Without being inside either of them, I could see how they could go one way or the other on either of them for that grade. But I was asking because it's a 5% difference on 500,000, 25K.
Number.
Right. So that's where the first 25,000 that I could find a difference in. I'd have to look again at the depreciation on the, you know, what 2 years depreciation would do on it, because you're 2 years newer. But yeah, I mean, they have everything listed. It looked correctly on theirs as far as what's all there. The basement's there.
Thank you for looking.
Yeah. Let's see. What value did you ask us to
I
consider
didn't
for
ask a
this?
specific value just because I just thought we were way out of line with what it jumped to. I mean, I agree there's gonna be some sort of increase. But from 24 to 25, I went down in value.
Yeah.
And now I'm going up.
Yeah, and that was, I'm not sure what went on in East Grand
That
Forks with the
was-
assessment, because the land like almost tripled that year and your house value went down.
That was the year
70,000.
that we had our manual level change. And that's based on that, and you would know about this, the cost of building. We were based off of 2008 previously, and moved up to the costs from 2020, I believe. And then in the course of doing that, we had to do a lot of land, or bare land sales, trying to figure out what the land percentage of the value was. And it was, yeah, it was a process, so.
I guess I'll make a big ask, and I'm gonna ask that my home be valued the same as the parcel that I showed you. Because that's what I feel is my true comparable in that area.
Okay. So you're looking for 458,300.
What was that number again?
458,300.
you know, and
I don't,
the one you gave me, do you know what they paid for it?
I can easily find out.
$575 or $563 without the personal property that, like, the appliances inside. So comparable sale price, we ain't so far off now.
Valuations, what I'm doing.
I hear you.
the only other thing I would say there is he's asking 4583 when his first initial, which was okay, was 462,700 in 2023. That's what he told us. I wrote that down.
Or did I get that number mixed up?
462,700.
That was the 2023
20,
assessment for
2023.
taxes
Excuse
payable
me,
twenty
yes.
twenty-four.
Yeah.
I read the 2025 number when the numbers went down with almost every one of those. So yes, it would be that 4.6 number. That's my fault.
4627.
Yep.
You said that one sold for 575?
Do we have? No, and the home, oops, where am I going? Right next door, let's see, which one's 1429? The one to the right, granted, they have that larger improvement in the back or that garage.
Mm-hmm.
That's valued at $533,000. This is just the house, or the buildings.
No land.
No land, 533.5, and Mr. Peabody's is at 520, 500.
So it's comparable.
I don't, I'm wondering about, just looking at the pictures. There's that extra driveway and garage out back on that
That's
other
right.
one. And that's more than $13,000 worth of value.
Exactly, I agree.
In my, like, just looking at that.
And just that for the concrete?
Now you're being picky, but yes.
I'll just remind, that hasn't been viewed for 5 years, that's gonna be reviewed this year.
But that's not Mr. Peabody's fault.
No.
Do you have a recommendation yet?
Do I? I was hoping you would have one. This one I'm kind of torn on.
Me too, but this is what I think, and I'm just a common sense dude. I don't understand all these numbers, and I do understand the process and all of that. But when you're looking, he's trying to compare apples to apples, and I understand that. At 460, and I'm about being fair and equitable when we can't. But I also understand we can't give a deal here because we're gonna be giving deals to everybody then, you see? But there does look like there's a wee bit of, he does have a valid argument.
Absolutely. And this is in the quintile coming up this year? Okay, so keep in mind that they'll be reviewing it. It's a one-year change, like Paul was mentioning.
Yep.
Plus, it will be reviewed this summer or during this cycle, so that they will be in that area redoing all of them this year.
Everybody will be in the same ballpark this time next year.
Right. So, with that in mind,
That's where I was going.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to.
my thoughts, the number that comes to me, and you guys can have different, let me know.
I have one thinking.
I've got it at 5 even, 500,000.
I was at 480.
Okay.
That just,
And whoever wants,
I'll go 490 then.
but I understand, because I was trying to put this all together, because there has to be an increase.
right,
And he was at 462.7. And even at, At 480, that's only 17.3 increase for 1 year. Right, 17,300 for 1 year.
1 year, yeah.
That's where I was going. And that's only, what, 3% off the top of my head?
Something like that. Your math off the top of your head's better than mine right now.
I mean, to me, that's how I look at things.
Mind if I chime in for a second here? Just to give you perspective here, Mr. Peabody, on the parcel in question that you thought was the comparable one, that was, we have that valued at $211 per square foot. And if we have, and if that should be if you believe that's comparable, at this point, that would put total value, including land, and I'm not sure if there's anything else. Is there not counting any yard extras or anything like that, at $497,000. And then there's $9,700 of sheds.
Oh, I forgot about the shed, dang it.
506,600. If we go directly by the square foot cost of that comparable that you mentioned.
211 is still a little rich, I feel.
But that's what the per
I
square foot.
I
on
understand
the
where
one that you-
I'm going with it, but I'm, from what.
So what number did you say, Mark?
5066 based on the square foot rate on Mr. Peabody's.
The one that you consider a comparable.
What did you say, Sam? 500? It's for 1 year.
Are you ready to make a motion?
Yeah, I move 499.00.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second to decrease it from 583.8 to 499,000, correct?
Yep, that's what I make.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, it's for 1 year term. Yeah, right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Yep, on to the next one.
Just to let them in when they show up at the door.
So can I ask a question? You said it's a quintile 1 year, so do they come out every single year, or how does that?
So like,
5
one
years.
every 5 years.
One every 5 years.
Yeah, so they do 20% of the improved properties in a city or township every year. So after 5 years, they'll have the whole thing covered.
Gotcha.
Unless a permit gets, there are
Yeah.
exceptions.
So even though I got hit this year, I'll get hit again next year, shoot, cause I gotta hit the whole development.
Yeah, now they'll come on their normal review. The other one was because somebody had tagged the parcel to come and look at it again,
Sure.
so now it's just a normal.
But your parcel has been reviewed and our appraisers are confident in the side, all the information, so we'll just probably leave a door hanger that we're in the area. And you'll get the same letter or postcard that everyone else gets. But we shouldn't review it again unless you could do something else.
Okay, there she was.
No, the next one.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Both of these adjoining properties will be reviewed next year.
Yes.
But they're not
This
very
summer.
much.
Yes, this summer.
This
That
year,
whole
this
area.
next year.
Yeah, okay.
That whole area, I understand
But
it.
which one?
That's why I went with that. Thank you for your help.
Oh.
That helped.
You know, like.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the next one. Car property.
No, car didn't show up.
Yeah, but don't we,
Oh, I suppose we have to vote no change on.
Right,
I would move and no change, 546, 700.
okay. So we have a motion and a second to keep that one at the 546.7. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to the next one.
You say you have a dilemma?
This one's a tough one, I think.
Mhm. We're lacking information. Or no, wait, that,
The goal,
Well, the exemption something, issue is something that you.
Outside of this.
That's,
Yeah.
only I can do that.
mm-hmm,
So we're talking valuation and classification on the rest of it. You guys can change the valuation and the classification as
Okay.
you see fit.
any recommendations there?
Well, just looking first off, the actual clubhouse they have listed as commercial. Like I said, I don't think it changes the value of it, but the classification should be what? What would our county assessor recommend if it's not a commercial building?
Well, seasonal rec isn't right either, it's not residential. And it's not rural vacant land, it's not really ag, it's really not anything, is it?
It's a unique situation, and
it
that
is.
building, is it more of a
The closest thing I can say, or the,
shed,
if a gun was put to my head, I would say seasonal rec,
maybe,
but.
yeah, maybe. Well, cause they do use it all, snow gone till snow come.
Yeah, we operate, it opens up April 1st, because that's when the kids start shooting.
Yep, that's right.
And then we close,
Yeah,
about the 10th of November, when the guys get done shooting in their.
Oh,
sighting
sure.
vehicles.
What did we have it classified prior? If it wasn't commercial, what was it classified prior?
211. So rural vacant. But it's not vacant.
Right, but yeah,
Nobody
I'm
lives
just
there.
trying to figure it out, like.
No, but the building's still used.
Yeah, rural vacant, it's if there's not a, it's supposed to be rural vacant. Yeah, if it for bare land only or something with a small, structure put on it.
Well, the part that sold me is it's on a dump ground. And
Well,
that,
right, and that's the
Well,
other,
that's a different
that's the different
classification.
part of what we're
Yeah.
looking at though.
mhm, I agree.
The classification, I believe, is 10 acres of the actual gun club portion is commercial at this point, and then the tillable is agriculture, and then the portion that's the dump is rural vacant land.
I see.
So we can split class stuff,
Yeah.
and for the 10 acres, you have to have split it out by 10 acres on that.
Sure.
So it's whatever, what you're talking about is how you wanna classify the 10 acres with that we have as commercial now. And if I had to recommend, I think the best would be seasonal rec.
Okay.
But, it's whatever you guys choose.
I
Yeah,
understand, but what do we get to choose, what can we choose from?
well, we can choose from whatever we want, but I would probably follow the county assessor's recommendation of
Yeah,
a
that's what I'm getting at, yeah, seasonal rec.
Okay, so
And keep in mind, if the gun club, that would be, if it's actually an exempt purpose, then that part would be exempted.
Right.
And probably the rural vacant stuff.
And not the tillable.
Not the tillable.
Yeah, I got it.
And the exemption wouldn't change the valuation of the property,
No.
just the way that it's taxed.
Yes.
Text, right, I understand that.
that's the next thing I'm looking at is what we've decided to do as far as the value of all this stuff, like. Is it because we don't understand why there was an obsolescence on there that we take them all off?
So there was the 50% obsolescence across the board. And
It wasn't across the board. There was on all the buildings, and then there was 75%, if I'm looking at this correctly, on the egg land, the 12 acres. There was 75% there. And that's economic purposes, which probably because it was a dump.
right,
The other one was that 50% on other, on the 27 acres.
that was listed as the non-tillable. So it was
Right.
all non-till land.
But I'm just saying, it's not across the board, like, let's go one by one through these then, like, if we don't understand them, we take them off?
Well, when I looked at it, said it was old dump site, I looked up on the MPCA and they didn't have it listed as a dump site. Until we found now, was speaking with Jake from the Environmental Services, he spoke with somebody from the MPCA and found the paper from Bernie Leader from 1975. That was our only documentation that it was actual dump. They had said they had some testing or papers from Mr. Swanson. I didn't see those, and so instead of putting it back on just on the obsolescence, I did the lowest rate on non-tillable, and I did the lowest rate on building site, and then I took the obsolescence off the tillable because when I was out there in 24, there was beets growing, and so tillable is tillable to us.
Can they sell those beets?
Mm-mm.
At the time, I didn't know that. I mean,
Not on that 12 point some acres.
No,
Can't be sold. They can just be grown.
as far as I know, yeah, that's what
Okay.
that's what they said for their contract with UMC. whether it's not.
So we would have to really look at, is it worth 7,600 an acre?
I matched it to equitability of.
No,
surrounding.
new information has been
Yeah.
given to you.
Yeah.
In your opinion as an appraiser of that, if they can't be sold, that's no longer the highest and best use for that property, correct? Like,
Right. I mean,
I-
they're, whether it's being sold, they're using it as a tillable purpose to grow a crop. I don't know.
so I'm just trying to think of the definitions that they throw out in agricultural purposes. Because what, is that not for resale in agricultural purposes? Is that not part of the definition?
Yeah, it's part of it.
So the tillable is not tillable when it's that, like, I'm just trying to work through all of this
Yeah.
because it's a tricky.
It's very
Property.
tricky. It's kind of like what is it if it's not
Yeah,
tillable?
right.
We looked at it seemed like it was similar to all the other ones.
Okay.
The tillable
My
portion.
question then, Sam, if it's 41.8 acres, and nowhere on that 41.8 acres can we sell a crop, right? Can't sell anything, right?
Right.
The only thing we can sell is a membership to the club, which we're gonna try to deal with that with this other means. If you have 41.8 acres and it's tillable and you're growing something and whatever, but you can't sell a daggone thing, to me, that is, they're gonna come back in there with a disc and disc it back under. It's nothing. You go back, wouldn't you go back to your nothing property? You're back to what it was when it was a dump. What did you rate it as before?
Well, in just the prior year, like, it seems to me like the 75% obsolescence that was on that land is kind of accounting for that you can't produce and sell off of
Yeah.
that land.
That's where I'm going with this.
Right, like, to me, like, it feels like we went through this property and just didn't find, there wasn't a clear note as to why things were being done in the past. So we
Yeah.
went to look to change it, and then some things came to light because we did that, so we got to dig a little bit.
Yeah.
So now maybe that past makes sense, and that 75 should be there.
Do we have to take the 10 acres that is classified the gun club? Because it has the building on it, does it have to be a full 10?
Yes, it
Okay.
has to be full time.
Fine. So then we're going with 31.8 acres at 75%. And the rest is hopefully would have,
Well, of those 31,
There's only
Tillable.
11 tillable.
11 is tillable at the 7,600. The rest is at either 1,000 or at 875 an acre.
Oh, then there's the non-typical
Yeah,
Oh,
at
I get it, I get it,
26.50
I get it, I get it.
it was.
was.
So
I'm looking at working, so
yeah, I haven't changed it in working yet because it's in certified.
So
Here's
you're
the
just saying,
breakdown.
taking those different classifications, 75% of each of those
Right side.
classifications then? Other than the 10%, and other than the 10 acres, what Sam was just saying, is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by this 75%, but one thing
there
this
was.
is a personal preference of mine. I'm not a fan of obsolescence on land.
Oh, I see.
I prefer, you know, like on the we have the remaining non-till as the lowest non-till rate of whatever was it, 800 or
875.
875. It's extended to other portions of, or to tillable, that's an option as well, rather than
Obsolescence.
obsolescence.
What do you classify CRP as?
Tillable.
The 75% was coming from what was previously on there is what I was talking about. Like there was 75%
Right.
obsolescence on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes sense because it's under the economics of it where it can't be, it's not producing. But I get it if that's how.
I mean, that's just my preference.
Yes, no,
Right,
and that's.
you do it, you know.
No, yeah,
But
I'm
that's,
taking your recommendation.
that's your recommendation. I agree with that.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure it's a recommendation so much as an option.
What does that change the total to compared that to obsolescence then? Based on what you just said and what we did before?
What is the,
I didn't hear what the,
if the tillable was, it's actually, I think we'll drop it because it's 875 versus however much, whatever the non-till, or the tillable rate is on that particular parcel, and I would think it would be,
so the tillable rate right now is
76.
7611, 7,600.
so 75% or 25% of that.
Down to $30,000.
Right, because if there's no change, let's write it the way he would like it. Like you said, he's the assessor.
Yeah, and if they work out to be similar, why not?
Right, exactly.
Do it the way he likes.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, that would be 21,000. We also have rates of non-till, kind of a pasture rate that we use that's, what is it, 1475 or something?
Yeah.
That's another option. Our typical non-tillable rate is 26.50, I believe.
To me, that wasteland basically has no value. It just, the only thing there is you keep it out of circulation by have somebody owning it rather than letting it
Would
go to
you,
wherever.
yeah, would you feel good about calling it pasture land?
Well, you mentioned you're talking about putting it in a rim.
Oh, yeah.
Rim is another option.
That's right.
You know, and that goes,
And we kind of talked about that.
and we can put it in pasture for now and then put it in rim once it's turned into rim.
Once it actually gets there.
I mean, there are many options here.
Okay.
Because you guys were still negotiating your contract, I believe, or,
We can't do anything until a new farm bill is settled.
right, yeah, that's right, too.
Who knows when that's
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I was wondering what you designate CRP as. You know, cause that would be another option versus, you
That's
know.
tillable and that's
Yeah.
something we have to do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like the last thing you just said, just so we can satisfy your terminology and give them the rate of the pasture, and then it'll get reevaluated once whatever this rim deal is.
What pasture rate were you gonna put it at?
I think it was like 14
Okay.
something, but, Andy will look it up.
Who's got it locked? Annalee's got it locked.
I got it locked where?
And certified. It won't let me in. Locked by Annalee.
I'll refresh.
Let me log off and go back in.
CR? I'll try it.
I'm not, I wasn't in any parcel.
Now it says locked by Mark. So that's good.
Well,
This
that's
is
you.
Mark's.
It says
it
on my
in
computer.
I was not even in the parcel.
Okay,
It's
so
time to go home.
Oh. Papers are
I
getting
thought we'd be out of here by
signed.
7:30, but.
You jinxed us.
So the 11 acres, if we put it in that non-tillable rate. The right one. Pasture, no.
Quick question, if you put it in as pasture, that means those animals can be sold off there because they're grazing on that grass, but.
This
It's
is
just a-
It's just,
It's just
It's just a rate.
It's more of a
It's
it's more of
term.
just a box of what they value the land at. Like,
Yeah.
mhm.
we could go in and change the table so it says not pasture.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all in a table, it just kind of makes everything, well, it's part of an equity,
Yeah,
making
it's,
sure.
it's a
everything's-
guide on this is what a pasture would be valued at. And
So that 11 acres, if it was put into that low pasture local rate at $14.50, it would come out to $16,000. Currently, it's at 83.7.
At 83?
83.7 is at the what the tillable rate is.
So what would that be for the total,
Like,
total value?
no, let me delete the.
100,900.
That would put the land at 133,400.
And then the rest of it.
And now also for the gun club with the 1 acre, we have a site value to value the well, I know there's no well, but well, septic, entrance or access and electricity. So I have a deduct on that for no well, so that's at 25,000. The standard site value for there is 35 for Lowell. Something didn't add up here.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
this does not seem to be adding up.
I thought it would have been lower.
Yeah.
What didn't
So if that's the deduction there, I should actually be at 90.
That's because it's.
I am not.
Using you.
I promise I am
My
not.
math puts us at 90,900.
That's where I was headed. Just off the top of my head while he was giving numbers.
That's, cause if we're at 16,000 for the 11 acres.
Okay.
We're at 62,000 for the 10 acres of site. There's 4,900. Where was that at on here? Is that the waste and maybe I missed one.
Well, we need 20 acres. 20.8 acres.
So then we have, now here's the big one that I think I'm missing on mine. It's the 16 acres of that non-typical.
Non-till, that's at 14,000.
Is that 14 now?
That was at the 850 rate, or 875 rate, sorry. Yeah, that one changed down here for some reason. That's why it gave me that big number.
And then a total of like 12,900 for the buildings.
Oh, yeah, sorry, actual buildings, not the land.
Yeah, 'cause yeah, I'm working, not certified.
Yeah.
I didn't wanna lock you out.
No, buildings 19,600.
What's, okay, we gotta look at that. What's the difference in your certified compared to my working? I've got 8,000 for the actual retail store. That's what they had, the wood frame,
I got 8,500.
okay? And then in the yard, I have
Oh,
a
there's
total of,
addition to, for 6,200 that I have.
okay, there it is. Oh, the canopy? That we got canopy?
No,
Adjustment 12, oh, I mean, it's the adjustment for the canopy. On here, like there's an adjustment for the canopy.
Yeah, no, I was looking on that additions button. That's 59, I'm at 62.
Wasn't that this stuff though? Cause otherwise there's nothing listed here, it's just giving me a value. Or do I have to go back to structure?
I have canopy and, excuse me, canopy and then toilet room on the bottom there.
This has changed. When we went through here, the software has changed since I've used it.
They moved
Change,
things.
some big changes in it,
Oh, yeah, I mean, moving.
you know?
Alright, so what are we getting to then? Cause my numbers are now clearly off.
Okay. Let's start from the beginning.
Yep.
Site value will be 25,000. The 9 acres of building site we have at 9,000. Removing the tillable at 11 acres is 16,000. 3.8 acres of waste we have at 3,000. And then 16 acres of non-tillable at 14,000. And then we have 1 acre of road with 0 value.
And then-
67,000 for that.
And building.
And then building we have at 19,600.
86,600 total.
And then 19,000 you said?
19,600 for the buildings.
I'm sorry. $85,600. Am I wrong?
86.
86,600.
Okay. Oh yeah, it is 86,600, sorry.
That's what I got too.
Good.
I've got no problem with that. I mean, it's short of where Mr. LaPlante wanted it to be, but I feel like they've done a lot of the adjustments and hopefully that exemption would be able to come through or something, but
And what would the exemption be covering, the 19,000, right?
It would cover everything.
No, everything but the pasture.
Yeah, until it becomes rim and then, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd have to do a little research and probably talk to our Department of Revenue, make sure that it does qualify for exemption. But yeah, would be everything but that until the rim and then.
Yeah.
We'll probably get that sent out, the exemption app sent out beginning of next week.
Okay, that'd be great.
We'll have
But to
figure
put
out-
something on the table, I'll move to establish the value at 86,600.
I'll second.
Okay. So you've heard the motion. Any other discussion? I don't know, we have any more discussion left. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay,
Do you wanna put that letter, care of me then,
Okay, then your name was Craig McLean.
to that P.O. box that
Yeah,
you
so
said.
that
you
Looking
were-
at
Craig is in.
minutes and
CR.
agenda stuff, I don't see anybody else here for late appeals.
no, so do we have,
That's part of our beginning thing,
Okay.
if they showed up, we care.
yeah,
Excuse me.
so now we do the staff recommendations, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so the first one, the Delage, recommendation.
So moved.
Gary
Seconded.
and Sam. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to the next one. Schulte's,
I'll move.
Sam. Who wants to second?
Second.
Starting to fall asleep. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to the last one, Klein.
This is the increase.
Correct.
That's Warren's area, I don't know.
What was there?
Now that is funny.
Was there a requested value there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, 44,0700.
Yep. And they are aware that it is an increase.
Okay, so that was the recommended, but it's also the requested.
Yep.
Well, then that's pretty obvious, is it not?
So I take it, Warren, you're moving.
Are you making the motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
Second.
okay, thank you, Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else?
In favor of adjournment.
I'll second.
Aye.
Okay, we are done, thank you.
Thank you.